Do I hear
Good.
Nic Chahine in the background?
I hear him.
You do.
Nick, what's going on?
How are you guys?
Hey, not too bad. We were just talking a little bit of energy stocks here. A lot of these energy utility stocks are getting bid up here this morning on this. Do you trade any of those utility stocks, or you only stick to the Momo stuff and the stuff that's got some premium?
The utilities are way above my pay grade, so
They're too boring for Nick. He doesn't want that stuff. He needs some. He wants some premiums there to write. You're not gonna get any premiums in those utility stocks.
Exactly. I need to be able to write some stuff on it.
Well, what are you writing this morning? Talk to us. What are you writing here as the S&P futures are breaking out to new all-time highs?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm trying to decide if it's time to BTF ATH, or is this another pop that may extend itself just a little longer than the other few pops in the last few weeks. You and I have talked, maybe this is the week they overshoot. So I'm going to say it again. Maybe this is the week they overshoot. So I do have a few things I'm looking at in specifics, though. First of all, the Ukraine event came and went, and it looks like there is no event yet. It's too murky to understand what the heck happened there, but it looks like everybody wants to play nice, so that's off the table as far as trigger. Thailand apparently gets no respect, even though it sounds like it's a big deal, but I don't see anything in the stock market from that perspective. I think I'm going to use Quihu tomorrow. I think they report overnight, and to see how the market treats it as a Momo. So if the appetite is back to buy the momentum, that would be it. And another thing later this week, as far as macro is concerned, is GDP. That's probably going to be important. I think this morning's news was good because I'm looking at the futures and they popped. And I wonder, when will good news like that start to become bad news for the trading the markets? Because then the Yellen statement of 6 months will start creeping up on people's lips. So those are the big picture items that I'm looking at. I heard you mention Apple. I heard you mention HP. If you want to tackle Apple first.
Yeah, let's tackle
ahead.
Apple, because we want to get your thoughts there, as it's up another $4 here this morning. What's the open interest and stuff looking like for this week?
Yeah, well, this week I'm leaving it alone. Just to tell you what I'm doing with Apple, nothing this week, because it's starting to get from the long side, it's starting to get too close to the 700 psychological breakdown level. How many people are going to be gutsy enough to buy it close to those levels? I think the eagerness is going to wane as it gets closer to it. Just like I was saying that it's going to get excellent support the closer it gets to 500, because that's the line where they defended hard. So I've got this range, and given that it's going to split, I don't like to sell into a split. So I'm going to leave it alone. But from the perspective of open interest, looks like the high for this week so far, it's still 600. And anything above 600 is slight resistance. There is no wall anymore like before. I mean, if there is a wall, it's at 620, but it's nowhere near the size that the walls have been in the past. So I would be careful shorting it, just because, not because I believe it has a long to run, but I don't want to argue with the bulls. 2013 showed us how unreasonable they can be and run everything up to high and high and high and high. So I don't want to fight the tape and fall into the habits of 2013. I don't think we're there yet, but I don't want to chance it. So I'm going to watch it today to see how the open interest translates into action. But I'm looking at it this morning in the last 15 minutes. It did not pop up like the market. I mean, I'm looking at, for example, the futures on the small caps, and they jumped 2.5 points or so at 5:30, and no movement in Apple that I can see visually. And same in Google. So I'm going to use these two as bull rabbits, if you want to call them, to see if the market really wants to move up higher. So we are at an important inflection point. Are we going to continue to short the pops, or is this another leg up for another 20 points or so? I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, newbie trader in the chat room. So we'll talk about open interest on the show, and the question is there a way to tell how option volume is either buy or sells? If open interest is 50 and then you have a volume is 200, it goes up by corresponding amount. I mean, I guess for the open interest, you kind of have to see the volume at the end of the day, the open interest, and how it translate out, from session to session? How many people initiated new positions, or how many people closed out positions? You want to comment on that, Nick?
Yeah, it's you hit it right on the head. You have to track it over a long period of time to see how the changes go from week to week. I keep the values from week to week, so I'm looking at two charts at all times to see how it was last week, where it is this week, and tells me where the market is moving or what they're thinking maybe. And then I also zoom out during the day to more than the strikes that are around current price, because you never know when you have some sort of an outlying position that tells you, wait a minute, there might be a sneak attack today or a sneak sell or this week or soon. Because if you see, if total open interest is like 5,000 a line, and then you see a 10,000 open interest somewhere way out there outlying, that means that somebody knows or looking to do something way out there. So yeah, you have to every day check into the open interest and see how it moves with respect to the day before, and with respect to where the price went and what the news is, and what are the upcoming events and or triggers. So it's the big picture, and this is just a piece of the puzzle. You can't make all your decisions based on the open interest.
It's one tool in your toolbox, right, Nick?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that. Exactly. So it's just a piece of the puzzle. You've got a whole bunch of pieces, and sometimes the pieces don't fall together. Even though it may make sense that they're going to sell it off at 600, that may not happen. We all know that we can act irrationally often. We, as in the collective we. So who's to say that they're not going to go stupid and do something completely counterintuitive to what the data tells you? You also mentioned HPQ.
Yeah, what are you thinking on this one? Is there any premium there to write on stuff like this, or?
There is, but as a stock, I don't like it. The CEO is excellent. Obviously, I'm no one to be able to argue with her, but it seems like every time she comes out and talks, so she gave herself such a long run to be wrong that you can't really judge the minute movements. And minute, I mean 1 year. So in order to evaluate the stock as a whole, I zoom out to non-minute time because she told me to. So I go out 5 years. And just like the Apple story when it was around the 600 level, and I've told you that this is the level that's important from which it debacled down, you guys mentioned the time period I'm looking at, which was in 2011 August, where it fell apart. I think it was you, Joel, that mentioned that fact. And if you pull out the 5-year chart on HPQ, you'll see that this is the battle zone right here. This is it. This is the level from where it really took a beating. And I always throw the outliers out, like the peaks in Apple, that little triangle towards the 700. And I'll throw out the triangle that gets it to 50 way back. So throw that out, throw the extreme low. This is the battle. It's either going to go higher from here, so it's a coin flip. I don't invest in coin flips, and as a matter of fact, it may have a little run to go, but if the markets in general are overextended, it has headwinds.
Newbie trader, just going back to the open interest, is wondering, is there a website that tracks this, or someplace that he can go to actually see the open interest, like a good free source?
Yeah, sure. Create income with option spreads.
That's Nick's site. So you track it all on your site too.
I track it and I share it with the members. So every morning they get an email from me that shows the open interests that I see on the majors, including the RUT, SPX, and SPY, and whatever else they want to look at. Sometimes it's not a good tell because it has low volume, but other times in high volume where there's a lot of options, it really tells you what they're looking to do. And now, speaking of open interest, I'm looking at, I thought I peaked at, I'm going to verify it later today, leave you with a little nugget before I go, I'm sure. The NDX, I like to trade the NDX just because it's got $25 wide spreads that I can do out in time that are not near the money, and I can safely, well, relative safety, I risk a lot of dollars, but I risk a low incident. But I'm looking at 3,600 level. And there's something going on in the open interest there. I'm not sure what it is. I want to look into it. But this is just, I literally just saw it before you guys called, so I didn't have a chance to investigate for June contracts. So I'm going to look into that, and maybe next week, if you remind me if I forget, maybe we can come up with a theory as to who's trying to do what, and maybe we can put a play on it.
Okay, Amazon got a little love from the street today, and it's come off hard off its all-time high here. Have you been dipping your toe in Amazon at all?
I want to. I like the company. I use it all the time. I thought that the street gave it a lot of leeway, but I thought it was justifiable because they're growing. The growth is there, and I'm buying a growth company just like a startup. I mean, if you're buying the growth in Facebook, you should buy the growth in Amazon. And suddenly fell out of sorts, and then after the earnings, and everybody just said, no way, we're going to sell it down to, and it sold exactly to like a head and shoulder pattern, which was the 280 mark, and I did a write up on that. And I'm instinctively want to go along it, so if I do, it'll be via debit call spreads, and maybe I'll give myself some time to be right. And I'll tell you what's the rabbit for this Amazon is Priceline, and more importantly, actually Netflix, because now suddenly everybody's back on board with, hey, Netflix might be able to growing overseas, globally, I should say. So now everybody's bidding Netflix. So if Netflix is bid, Amazon will definitely follow it, or should logically follow it. And I do like it technically. I mean, it got beat up, even though it's still astronomically valued, but it's a growth stock, and you don't value it on the dollars they keep. You value it on how much growth is, and growth is there. And now, if it turns in some disaster in the growth area, then the whole theory is completely shot out the window.
Well, Netflix has run $100 off of its lows here, so you think that maybe Amazon's gonna start rallying here too, maybe chasing it up. Is that what you're saying there, Nick?
Yeah, I'm saying that the street sentiment to run up on momentum, and these two used to trade side by side, and it's almost like it's the same trader that does both of these. So, if Netflix is getting love, and it is, boy, it sure is. I can't believe it. I mean, one minute you're just hating it, the next minute, but now guess what? Now it's got a big test ahead of it. If if you throw out a little triangle peak up to 450-ish or high fours, then it's at a level where it should see some resistance. So it'll be a good tell. So if I'm not in Amazon, this is a week where you almost need to wait out. There's no penalty for not trading for a couple of days. Just watch the momentum. I'm looking at this morning, even at the last pop after 5:30, we had a good run. And I'm looking at the small caps. They didn't recoup the high overnight, which is about a point. They fell about a point short, or so, maybe half a point. So if they're all happy about it, why didn't it bust through the overnight highs already? So I want to see. I'm really interested to see. I'm sitting back and watching.
Okay, what about Twitter here? I just want to ask, because this thing is just not getting any love here. Like the street, they were trying to upgrade it there for 3 or 4 days. It got basically 6 upgrades, and that just didn't kickstart the stock. And now it's just drifted right back down. We're about $1 off of the lows here, the all-time lows with Twitter here right now. What do you think on this? Is this just dead money?
I don't think so. I think I can't remember. I either wrote up an article on it last week or I wanted to, but I said that I'm taking a flyer on Twitter via calls, and I'm giving myself some time to be right. If the company gets to the platform gets too much use for somebody not to figure it out, and if it's not Twitter, it's going to be somebody else. So it's just too good of an asset to go to waste, don't you think? I mean, I think
so.
I make fun of it that they'll never get my money as far as ads, but they get so much use that somebody's going to be able to either buy them out, incorporate them in a platform or use or somewhere. I mean, it's such a good asset. It's like you find a beautiful gem on the ground. And it's like, maybe it's not worth anything now, but I'm going to pick it up because somebody one day is going to say, boy, this looks awesome. Can I buy it? So it's too good to be thrown out.
Okay, we've had Nic Chahine on creating income with option spreads. Nick giving us an outlook on some of the high flyers and some of the low flyers too, like Twitter. So, Nick, abbreviated trading week. Thanks for coming on once again, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
It's a pleasure, guys. I can't wait.
Thanks, Nick.